MI5 raises terror threat in Northern Ireland to severe, meaning attack highly likely.
Here's a summary of the article.
The terror threat level in Northern Ireland has increased from substantial to severe, meaning an attack is highly likely, the government has said. Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris told the House of Commons that the decision was made by MI5, independent of ministers. In a written ministerial statement he said, MI5 has increased the threat to Northern Ireland from Northern Ireland-related terrorism from substantial to severe. The cabinet minister said while Northern Ireland has transformed into a peaceful society since the Troubles, a small number of people remain determined to cause harm to our communities through acts of politically motivated violence. He said recent months have seen an increase in levels of activity relating to Northern Ireland-related terrorism, which has targeted police officers, pointing to the attempted murder of DCI Caldwell. He went in to pay tribute to the tremendous efforts of the police in Northern Ireland and security partners, and the determination and resilience of the Northern Ireland people, who are making Northern Ireland a safer place to live and work. The political future of Northern Ireland rests with the democratic will of the people and not the violent actions of the few. Together we will ensure there is no return to the violence of the past.
This post received a score of 11,000, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Okay, so are we replaying the 80s IRA and Cold War or the 1920s pre-Great Depression pre-World War era? I can't seem to figure it out.
We're speedrunning a replay of the entire 20th century.
Is there any way I can put this on 2x speed?
Yeah, I would like to get to the 90s.
An enjoyer of the Yugoslav wars?
Enjoyer of when there's no World War.
Enjoyer of windbreakers and pogs.
I'm going all in on tech stocks.
Would you like to invest in my post-nuclear apocalypse tech? I call it the wheel.
No thank you, we'll never catch on.
The polling for Irish unification is actually quite interesting. The very large Irish Times poll that was done recently showed really unexpected results. Only 26% of people in Northern Ireland supported Irish unification. It's important to remember that Irish Protestants have always been major Republican players for independence throughout the 19th and 20th centuries.
Greater than the polling for Irish unification is actually quite interesting. Public-built housing favoured those of British ancestry. People who had a native Irish background were disproportionately excluded from social housing projects. This law ended in 1969 to bring Northern Ireland in line with the rest of the United Kingdom, but the most conservative politicians opposed it.
Monty Python's "Every Sperm is Sacred" takes on a whole new and even darker meaning all of a sudden. Goddamn.
When you find the second meaning, most of their songs do. It's what makes them so delightful.
I'm OOTL. What does this actually mean? What kind of attack? By who? How do they know an attack is likely?
It's a general barometer measuring the likelihood of terrorist attack across the UK. Naturally it can be broken down into regional threat levels, as it is here. NI in London for example will pretty much always have a higher threat level than the rest of the UK. By definition this doesn't really state who and what, nor should you interpret it as a sign that an attack is imminent, as it's more just a general indication that they think a terrorist attack is pretty feasible currently, so people should be on alert. In practice it's more a measurement used by the police, military, border control, etc. This is most likely the reason why they have increased the threat level, as they have likely judged on the basis of intelligence that more attacks could be likely in the aftermath.
When I was in the US military in the 1990s, we deployed to the UK for a month. During the deployment briefing, the intel officer cautioned us about the risk of IRA attacks, and added that we were specifically not targeted, the reason being the IRA got a lot of its funding from US sources. I always found that part interesting. No problems on the trip, though the airports were hyper-aware about unattended bags, far more alert than in the US.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.